Alright, so now that we have cleaned up our turbo a little bit, give it a little bit of refresh. Again, not a full rebuild, just kind of cleaning up a little bit, throwing some heat protection on, all new gaskets everywhere, and a little bit of ceramic paint to make it look a little prettier. Our goal with this isn't to do, an expensive build. This is something a bit more realistic. A lot of guys out there, it's like, hey, new turbo, new manifold, new bolts, new everything everywhere. And next thing you know, simple upgrade is, $3,000 to $5,000. Really, this is kind of more aimed at, hey, I'm trying to spend a couple $100 here. And the reality is, everything we're doing here is going to be under $500. Turbo, used, secondhand, cheap, that was a couple hundred. The actual turbo blanket itself, it was like $150. The gasket set, because I didn't do the everything gasket set, which includes all the studs and everything else, just the core, I think that was some $100. Something like the $50 range if I remember correctly. And really just a bunch of elbow grease. So this is like a really, reasonable way to add, maybe 30, maybe 40 horsepower, depending on who you ask for the Evo 9 turbos. But just a nice OEM Plus upgrade to kind of match the OEM Plus vibe I'm going for with this car. Not really meant to be a big power setup, so why bother spending $5,000 on something that's, maybe a bit overkill, and I'll be bending rods anyways if I push too far. This is probably about the limit I can go on a stock block before I start really risking the rods and have to do a full engine build, and I just don't want to do that right now. So that's what this is focused on. So what we're going to do now is, now that we have this nicely refreshed, what we're going to do is we're going to pull off the old turbo, get this new sucker on there, and get it running. And then the other cool thing is, this car has been dynoed in its exact current state. So we'll go back to the same dyno with the same tuner, obviously on a different day, and we'll run it with the Evo 9 turbo. So then it'll give us a really cool back-to-back, and you'll see it at the end of the video of, hey, what is this upgrade worth if I have, an Evo 5 or 6, or maybe an 8.5 Evo, and I just want to see what is a 9 turbo going to get me. So let's get started. Alright, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to kind of have like a nice, hopefully a 2-camera setup to kind of walk you guys around with what's going on. And you'll be able to see the big picture down at the bottom here, give you an idea of everything that's happening, and then I'll try to give you guys some close-ups of the work going on. Ultimately, what we want to do is get at the stock turbo sitting down there. And when we get it out, we'll do a side-by-side with the Evo 9 so I can show you some of the differences we talked about before. But a few people, different ways of doing this. So I have heard from some sources that the radiator has to come out. I'm going to try it without. And maybe if I have to pull the fan, but just kind of look at the space that I have available. I don't know. We're going to find out. Also, different ways of doing it in terms of the manifold. Some people will pull the manifold off. Others will not. I'm going to go for not. See if I can just drop the turbo straight down. Alright, now these are 14 mils. These 3 of them are super easy to get to, but if you have the SAS, this one right here might be a little bit trickier. What I like to do is I take a universal joint and I wrap it in electrical tape. What that actually does is it allows the U-joint to move a little bit, but it still gives me some resistance to the motion. So it'll still work like a universal joint, but it won't just flop around like they normally do. What you need to do is follow this line up right around here in the back where the oil fill is, and you're going to disconnect that. So I already did that in advance, but just a massive O2 sensor. Get this out of the way. Now we're going to come over here, and let's get the inlet off, and then we're going to come at the water pipes and oil pipes. Or just flip the lid. The Monster Sport, nice JDM intake, or the Rally Art. It's just the Rally Art. It's the same pipe. Nothing really wrong with this pipe. I'm going to end up replacing it to my Speed Engineering one, mostly because of the way this one has to deal with the step downs between the factory MAF here and the turbo inlet. Just not ideal, and I think I could do better than this pipe. That's why I'm really swapping it out. Also because in the future I'm going to be switching my WRC intake kits over to that pipe as well. So I need to do some R&D and test out that pipe on the car. As I mentioned, everything that we do for Speed Engineering is tested, and not only engineered and tested digitally, but we put it on the car, on this car, drive the pants off of it, and take it to the track, take it to the mountains, drive it around town. And surprisingly, like, a lot of guys are like, hey, track testing is the most aggressive testing you possibly can have. It is in some respects. And in other respects, actually the most aggressive thing you can do is stop and go traffic. So depending on what you're doing, I've broken more designs and parts sitting in ATL's famous traffic in the middle of summer, where underhood temps are just out of control. And it's just a ton of stress on components that, again, this isn't really a stop and go city traffic car. So maybe that's actually more stressful than beating the pants off this thing on the track. Again, on the track, this thing's been fantastic. I'm so shocked of how old this car is and how well it held up on track without, knock on some wood, any real big issues. We need these things on these lines. So yeah, trying to use a towel there, catch some of the oil drain, make sure I don't lose any of those little washers. And then going for this water pipes here in the turbo. There will be some drainage as you pull them off. And for my case, they were so stuck on, I had to use a flathead or a pick and get underneath there and break the seal loose on the rubber. But yeah. I see you, Rocky, down there. What's up, Rocky? It's a little mascot. typically the way to get out. I think I can start breathing the data out, each as well. And I was going to be a conduit. Here we go. But the question is easier. How to do it? Alright, what is your which is the minimal? That's the key board. I didn't take this. No, I guess. Easy. Here, loose. Just a little loose. Why is that? So originally I just called saturation. Questions can't get to. Yeah, pops up. Sure, text is easy for these things are sensitive. Sure, makes me other things. Anyway. Was. What do you get? How's your day? So let's get the issue. You get what's going. I can't tell if that stuff I'm doing here. Yeah. Let's see what we got in here. Look at that nice mess we made in there of all the fluid spilling. Look at our exhaust ports. How do our exhaust ports look? Clean. No big buildups. That's nice. Pretty. Gasket looks nice. Recently replaced that as I mentioned. Alright, so now, so much room for activities. Except it wasn't so much room for activities because you need to pull the starter relay out of the fuse box. As I was wiggling this around, I heard a little tick. That's it, one little tick. And what I realized was the turbo oil drain pipe touched the starter relay for just a second. And that was enough to burn a hole straight through the side of the turbo oil drain pipe. And I had to go find another one. So yeah, just pull that relay. Freedom! All right.